the Around the NFL podcast. California's been good to me. Let's hope it don't fall into the sea.
Oh, from the beautiful Vista Restaurant and Bar from gorgeous Hermosa Beach, California. It's Around the NFL. I'm Dan Hanzus with heroes all over. Marc Sessler, wearing the jacket, by the way. Gregg Rosenthal and the lovely Colleen Wolfe. Hey, everybody, it's The Road Show.
I was so excited to see the jacket
There it
in
is.
person, and it's even more glorious, and I know that you don't like the attention on the jacket, but I stand by my whole thing. As I said before, I think I need one. I think John needs one. I think everyone should get one.
I would just add from a weather note that it's overcast. It's a beautiful day by the sea, but it's windy and overcast, so the jacket is providing an exoskeleton, a layer of protection that I find attractive for myself.
I think it's been a charmed life for that jacket, because even now you would think, oh, we're doing the show with the beach right behind us and the sun, and it's June now, that Marc might be suffering for wearing Levi.
No.
In fact, he needs it. It's tactical gear.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We're the ones that made the mistake here.
Right. If this goes on YouTube or social, you can check out our background right now. Two men are playing paddleball. Love paddleball on the beach.
Those are extras.
Very
We paid
different than pickleball. The lifeguard operations of Hermosa Beach right behind us. This is something.
Isn't this
That's
nice?
nice.
This is the, for us, we like to do this show. We've done them in West Hollywood in the past with our former producer, Ricky Hollywood, the Pridecast. I think Erica, in fact, is going to be joining us or be at the venue. And we already have some esteemed guests. I just see Patrick Claybon. He just rolled through having a beverage.
In
Jeremy
his beach
Bergman
gear.
from the newsroom, noted Jets fan, told me he didn't want Aaron Rodgers, but then came around on it. He's here. Kevin Dangerhands is my brother. Gonzo, John Gonzalez
Look who's
is
just
here.
rolled in over here behind them.
And there he, coming
Zummy!
in right on time, on cue, Jason Zumwalt, the voice of God for Around the NFL. Greg, it's all in front of us.
It's very exciting, but you're the host. Does this give you any anxiety that we have to work all these people into the show and you're leading
I
the
thought
way?
that kind of covered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to reference them ever again.
No, it's a cavalcade, and you announced them fully.
Anyway, so, Connie, here we
Yes.
are. And hopefully the sun comes out as this goes
I think it
along
will.
and warms us up a little bit. But it's nice here to be by the sea, to be together here in the off season before things get wild, and we're going to talk some actual football. We're going to have a couple people that live in the area stop by as guests that you may know if you're an NFL fan, and this is nice.
You know what? It's nice to hang out with you guys. This is long
hang.
overdue. There's a gaggle of guests that will be coming through. I love it. Like it's a Thursday too. It's a weekday. It's perfect.
The Gentleman's Friday, I call.
An off-season
Yes.
Friday is
Yeah.
what we call it.
I don't see a single gentleman among us.
This feels like the retirement edition of ATN. Like once we retire, we just do the show at like local restaurants outside
Right.
whenever we want.
Total
At
mail
some
in.
point, we'll be picked off by some sort of walker-by who is annoyed with our presence.
Now you made me feel uncomfortable.
Well, it's a prediction.
There is a boardwalk. There's kind of like a walking path with many seniors behind us.
Right. There's an
Who do
actress.
we need to be afraid of?
I just think they might think those people are a little showy.
Was that
Let's-
a paid extra that you have
Let's knock
coming to
them
get
down
us?
a peg.
I was going to
Let's
say
knock them down
there's
a
actually
peg.
an actress over that brick wall that pops up every now and then that Marc paid to pretend to be a female assassin, and
Right.
we'll take him out.
I mean,
by
a
the
man
end of the
just
show.
skateboarded by us casually with a dog going at the same pace on a leash. I mean, this is
He's an extra as well.
all right.
I've out of pocket personally.
Wow, the budget for this
Yeah.
show.
Anyway, so yes, we're going to have some fun with some guests. We're also going to hit on Gregg's takeaways from projected starters.
Briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
No, I mean extensively, Greg. I'm sorry.
I wanted to be
I
briefly.
actually
I
read
tried
them.
to get
I
it. I tried to get it in a 2-minute seg last
deserves
show, and you
more.
were like, "We want more." You're like, "If anything screams beach, it's projected starters."
It deserves more, just not too much more.
Okay, good.
You know?
How
If
long
you
did
wanted
it
to give it
take you,
4
by the
minutes,
way?
I think we give it, what,
Uh,
Mark, 7, 8?
6.5.
6.5. Tight
Eight
6.5.
articles at about 2,000 words each, so that's 16,000 words. I don't know the time, but quite a
wow.
lot. Quite a
Can
lot.
Now
you-
we're talking how the sausage gets made.
Yeah,
Oh,
can you explain to me, Greggy, if you pumped out 16,000 words for
Yeah.
a series in the end of May,
Okay.
and then you're also on a podcast, why would we dedicate 4 minutes to that?
It's a fair point. I used to operate like, the written word. Some things work better on podcasts. Some things are more fun. But you're right. We're out of ideas.
All right, we're going to get to that in a second. But first, let's get quickly caught up on the news, if you want to call it that. Mark, it is now June, heading into July in the heart of summer. I know you've been heading to the gym, and you've been an active man. Looking
That's
tight,
not even factual.
looking right. How do you feel about your beach body heading into the summer?
Oh, horrible. Like, so much progress must be made, and I have no motivation to even begin.
Whoa.
Oh,
But
I'm in the same boat as you.
more importantly, though, how is your what is it called? Parasocial relationship with Angel Calabrese. What was the lady's name who ran Beachbody?
I believe you mean the trainer named Autumn Calabrese, who I have no relationship with her other than I respect her professional career.
Parasocial wasn't really a known word when we first learned about Autumn, but that's exactly what Mark's relationship with her, even though it felt so intimate when you were first explaining.
To you.
Yeah.
I did not describe it.
We got to follow up. Has that gone up in a Ponzi scheme scandal or anything? Or it's still
She's
going?
in prison.
I exited the
certainly.
the scheme. That is for sure.
I don't know that to be fact. Autumn Calabrese, do not sue me. Let's get into the news. Mark, as a nod to you and Big Levi, let's start with the Niners. 49ers general manager John Lynch said the team is, quote, incredibly encouraged by Brock Purdy's recovery from elbow surgery, and he had this to say about the QB battle going into camp. This is courtesy of Sirius XM NFL Radio.
We still remain very high on Trey. We wanted to bring in some more competition. We brought in Sam, and Sam's really, taken to the coaching and the structure that we can give him. So at the end of the day, we feel really good about that position. I think Brock probably is the leader in the clubhouse, as we said, but it will be open for competition, and it's those guys' opportunity to go earn that job.
That's great. So Trey Lance, even though he's barely played, Colleen, still a former number 3 overall pick who they moved heaven and earth to obtain. And somehow, as we enter training camp in 2023, the GM is on record saying the leader in the clubhouse is the Mr. Irrelevant pick from the previous draft. If he's healthy, Brock Purdy.
I can't imagine how John Lynch feels about this deep down. I'm sure, he sort of wins either way because Brock Purdy was such a gem that they found and was such a surprise, and that's what made it such a crazy story. But everything that they had done everything they gave up to get Trey Lance, and then the whole thing with Jimmy G, how messy that was, how he came out at the Combine a couple years ago and was like, Jimmy G, we're taking calls on him. We're ready to go. There has been such an interesting turn of events with the quarterback position, and now you have Brock Purdy, who I guess, they're going to have this open competition, quote unquote, but they're in a good spot because now they have multiple quarterbacks we think that can play, but with Trey Lance, it's just you're still not sure what you really have.
It's not surprising to me that Sam Darnold's getting first-team reps, and they're going to take Sam Darnold very seriously. I think the news here that he's already throwing, there was this scenario where he was going to miss a big chunk of the season. And you never know with the off-season injury reports. But at this point, the fact that he's throwing and they're talking this optimistic, I think the feeling is the 49ers think they will have Purdy for the start of the season.
And I think they want Purdy to be the starter. I mean, he is the lead guy right now, and I think it's they're stuck in that same world that we are, and it kind of reflects what happened with Jimmy G a couple of years ago when they first traded for him. They had that incredible, 5 or 6 game sample size where he looked like he had come from the heavens. And Brock Purdy did the same thing, but it's is that who Brock Purdy really is? And it's they did mention, though, who knows if these guys are ever telling the truth, but I do think they sort of don't care what anyone else thinks. And they talk about the fact that, Purdy was not just Shanahan coaching him up left and right, that he operated in system, out of system, that they went back and looked at all his tape. They felt extremely optimistic. So I think there's this hope that, maybe you went and moved heaven and earth, like you said, Dan, to get Guy A, but Lynch still drafted Guy B. And, it's not necessarily to his credit. Everyone in the league passed on him 42,000 times. But you got him, and I think that Purdy's this guy that, if he can do what he did last year, you stick with him.
Yeah, and I think what Brock Purdy represents to John Lynch is basically a a life raft. Like, imagine if he wasn't there, and it was either this flash in the pan, potentially 260th pick, coming off elbow surgery, is healthy, or it's Sam Darnold. And then it's like everybody's getting fired potentially. So it's like they have a little bit of backup, and Lance is there, and we'll see if he gets an opportunity.
Doesn't Kyle Shanahan feel unfireable?
At this point.
Shanahan,
well,
I don't
he
know.
should be. I mean, look at what they've done the last couple of years. Making conference championship games is not.
You don't
dismissed.
look so hot, and I like Sam Darnold, but like things could be very grim if Purdy did not materialize out of the mist last year.
It's also impressive that Purdy avoided Tommy John surgery and is somehow maybe going to be available week 1 of the regular season.
I'm distracted, though, by the fact that Gonzo just waved to a man in a tank top walking by with a handsome dog. Does he know? Did he know this man?
I also waved
Or does
at
he
him.
just have friends?
His name is Kyle, and it's Cynthia's friend, and that's Cynthia's dog, Gordy.
Wow.
Hey.
It's all very
Yes.
distracting
Wow.
because what a group of gentlemen
Unbelievable.
here. I just want to jump in there in this
You want to
Zumwalt
jump into the
danger
group of gentlemen?
Gonzo
This is-
Claybon
That's
sandwich
a lot
there.
of connective tissue to our own network
Yes.
right there.
Yeah.
That's
Very
kind of
nice.
incredible.
Who said this podcast doesn't have sex appeal?
And let's
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. Keep that in. We're keeping that in.
there's a lot of chaos going on, and there is like it's interesting. We're taping this on a patio, like we said, outdoors with the beach right behind us, but we have a growing cast of people that let's be honest, like we rather hang out with than be talking into microphones
Well,
right now.
how long are we doing this for?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
massive
let's
Should we
distraction.
move on?
Let's get the
Yeah.
news too.
Let's
Yeah,
move
get-
on.
Okay, what else do we
Let's
have?
talk about Mac Jones.
get over
and he's working out, and he's preparing for a new season with the Patriots. And good news, everybody. He is happy with the progress with Bill O'Brien, the new offensive coordinator. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been normal. I think everything
God.
he's done so far has
It's
been
been
really
normal.
good. I think the communication is the most important part, and trust. I think it all starts with that when you're with a new coach, and he's done a great job in controlling the room. I feel like everyone's on the same page. Just got to continue to do it. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so we know that. And
That is amazing that the quarterback of the Patriots, you talk about subtweeting and read between the lines and, just trying to figure out what he's really saying. Oh, yeah, the new offense quarterback. It's normal now.
It's been normal.
And he's been doing that. It kind of makes me like Mac Jones more, who's a little milquetoast, but
I don't think he's milquetoast at all.
At some point last year, he decided, screw it. I'm just going to let.
Is that Cynthia's dog? We
No.
are trying to do a podcast
Gordy
here.
is way more
Gordy,
well-behaved.
Shut
than
it
that
down.
I like that Mac Jones at some point decided, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to let I'm going to publicly let people know I'm frustrated, even though Bill Belichick is my coach. And he's still subtweeting him, but it does remind me of a time back in December of 2021 when I was like, man, Mac Jones might win Rookie of the Year. And he ended up coming in second place for Rookie of the Year. And I'm like, hey, he looked like a pretty decent rookie quarterback. And if we're willing to throw out that non-normal, abnormal year last year, actually there's some idea
Are
that
you
maybe
totally absolving him of 2022?
I'm throwing out a lot of it,
Yeah, you
and
are.
I think there's a
Wow.
chance he could be much better. That's
I
all.
think it's
It's
fair
a reminder.
I think it's fair to, if not throw it out, just be like, let's shelve it. And Mac Jones, who we saw from 2 years ago, was well coached. Last year was like, I get normal because it kind of reminds me of like the Nightmare on Elm Street films where like youths are trapped in terrible dreams and
Sure.
it's like destroying their lives. And if suddenly that stopped and they just went back to having normal 9th or 10th grade years in high school, that would be nice. So that's sort of like Mac Jones has gone back to just, let's get back to normality.
But then there's
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2, 3, 4.
Well,
I
you
mean,
know
that's
what?
probably this season
6.
for him.
It kind of reminds me of Trevor Lawrence light. That's like a
Yeah,
situation that Mac Jones has gone through,
like that.
considering he started by saying it's normal. So, like, he's getting back to some type
But
of, like, normal
again,
situation.
Just for context, again, you're saying it's kind of like Trevor Lawrence Light. That was Urban Meyer, who was like an atomic show.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is a much
this
lighter
is Bill
version.
Belichick's team.
Right,
It's
right.
crazy.
Wait, also, Mac Jones said that Bill O'Brien is like a walking dictionary, which I feel like we should
Cool.
put out there as well.
Charismatic.
It's all a subtweet, and it's all like perspective. When Bill O'Brien seems normal, like that's a problem. Like I'm excited for Bill O'Brien, the coach, but Bill O'Brien was kind of a hot mess and not normal at all as an executive. and coach.
Finally in the news, and this is connected to the Patriots because it always will be connected to the Patriots. Tom Brady, who is now in the process. I don't know if it's done yet, but he's agreed to join the Raiders ownership group, and we know the Jimmy Garoppolo drama going on right now with his foot surgery and the recovery there, and Brady and Josh McDaniels, the connection there going back. Could he ever play again? And he's doing the media rounds, and he was on a program connected to Sports Illustrated, and he had this to say: I am certain I am not playing again. So I've tried to make that clear, and I hate to continue to profess that because I've already told people that lots of times. And he went on to say about his ownership stake, I want to be involved with the NFL for the next 45 years of my life if I last that long. All right, and that's all.
45.
Right?
He put a very specific number on it.
He wants to live until 100. So he's going to – I think he wants to play till he's 45, own a team till he's 90, put out a good 10 to 20 years. He might want to live to 110 and then croak.
I think he could. I think he could definitely do it.
He wants to live to 110, I think.
There's a decent amount of people, and by decent I mean like more than 20, that are over 115 years old right now and alive in the world. And if anyone's going to do it, it's my guy.
Greg has a Google Doc that
it's
he's
my
been
guy, the
tracking them
Pharaoh,
on.
Tom Brady.
The Pharaoh.
Oh, let's not jinx him, though. That's you're putting a lot on the man. But I just want to say now that, Mark, we've read this line, he's saying it again, I'm not playing. I think it is time, at least for our podcast, to wheel out the wooden catapult from medieval times that we somehow restored and fire this into the sun, this whole storyline. Oh, there it goes.
Right into the orb.
Oh,
Wow.
and into the solar sun.
Okay.
To the sun.
Look at that trail.
And along with that,
there it is.
When I read these quotes, where I was before was on this place that I thought that Tom Brady and his announcing career was fictitious, that it would never occur, that it just was this figment, this thing hanging in the atmosphere as sort of a joke on us. But I think actually that I've tabled that. I think he's actually going to go through with that. He is not going to play again. I think he's probably at this point annoyed at obviously having to answer this question over and over. And I'm done asking it personally.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Well, maybe he
Into the
shouldn't have
sun.
It's in the sun.
unretired because that's why people are asking.
Into the sun.
It's in the sun.
Yeah,
That's
right.
it.
It's in the sun, so it doesn't even
and
matter.
to your point, he did mention he was looking forward to broadcasting on Fox next year. He in the interviews.
Went out of his way to say that.
Even that conversation we will now fire into the sun, just to be safe. There it is.
Ooh, that was a
now
good
it's
one.
done.
All right.
Let's take
bring
a
out the
break.
sun.
Take a break. We'll wait for the sun to come out, and when we get back, we'll touch on Greg's projected starters. All right, here we are. Oh, another esteemed guest has just rolled in. Can you even believe it? It's Ricky Hollywood, the legend, Erica Tamposi.
She's
Everybody
in a
give it up for
very
Erica.
profesh jacket.
Wow, she does. Greg, she carries herself with a certain confidence that you can't make it up.
She cleans up. It's like, she's got the very business-like jacket on, so you think it's all business, but then the ripped jeans. No, she's going to have fun, too.
There's only one Erica.
Would you mind, Erica, jumping in for one
Yes.
moment? Let's just ask her a couple questions about
Wow.
where she is in life.
She just rolled
Come
right
on
in.
down. Here, do the projected starters.
It's my month, Colleen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, guys.
Hi, Rick.
Hi.
How are
Great
ya?
to see you, Erica.
How are you guys?
How's life with the Rams?
It's good. So this is the best Seahawks roster since 2020.
Whoa.
And expectations should be raised. The
Don't
49ers
steal her
that's
work.
Colleen's.
You're stealing her word.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that, NFC West
Oh.
standings here, but hey, how are you guys? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for coming through here to Hermosa Beach. Wonderful vista. Is it
Yeah.
Vista? Vista. What do you guys go with?
I think it's your choice. What
Vista.
sort of
Dealer's
mood are you
choice?
in?
Nice. Yeah, the Rams have come up a lot, Ricky.
We've talked too much right
So we're trying to figure out
I've
what
heard.
they are.
I haven't heard.
Are they tracking what we
Yeah,
say
there are
on the show?
people. There are people that track. There are people that
I like that
How
you have
high
to
up?
quickly point out, like, I wouldn't actually listen
I
to your
wouldn't
show.
know, but yeah. No, I can't lie. I'm not gonna
Do you?
That was great.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
So what do you got going on this summer? Summer of Ricky.
Yeah, summer of Ricky Hollywood's gonna be a big one. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you got planned?
I'm ready for it. I don't know. Pride starts today. It's
Yeah.
Pride Month.
Well, what do you
Very
think?
good.
This is your third annual Pridecast here.
Yeah, no, I think it's super good thing I showed up.
We needed you.
Would have been the straightest podcast of all time.
We discussed that. I'm glad that you arrived.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing that I showed up. But yeah, that's good. Are you guys talking about like what you're gay for or anything like that?
No, that was a one-time segment. It didn't really work.
We're doing Greg's projected starters. We've kind of
We're
veered
just
back
like-
in
Well, I
another
guess that's
direction.
pretty
We're
gay.
having
Yeah.
guests come in. It is. It kind of is.
All right, Ricky. Well, are we going to hang out together after we finish this?
I mean, I hope so. I just drove an hour.
All right,
so.
good. All right. Ricky Hollywood. Colleen, you got to come
Good
back.
to see you guys.
Actually, Connie, stay there a second. I see Zumwalt. Can you come over here a second, bud? We got to
Absolutely.
We got to ask him about the Cardinals.
Hey, how are you?
All right, here he
Here's
comes.
my headphone.
The voice of God.
This will be the
around
show where we
NFL.
actually never discuss Greg's
I think
projected
actually that
starters
would
yet.
be a funnier show, a better version of the show.
Zummy,
going
what's
on,
up, buddy?
fellas? How are ya?
Wow.
My forever friend,
you
Jason
doing, man?
Zumwalt. What's up, bud? Thank you for coming out.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We know you're not long for California. Is that why you trekked all this way from your home? Are you just soaking in?
It's the last time I'm going to see the Pacific Ocean.
Really?
This is it.
Heavy.
I'm ending it tonight. And I wanted you guys to know.
Are you going to do the swim into the ocean move, which
Yep.
is
Yep.
always kind of cool?
I
mean,
mean, if
It's
I
a
was
strong
until I
statement.
can't walk anymore.
if I was gonna walk into the ocean, and just let the sea take me away, the hat I would wear would be a completely black Arizona Cardinals hat. So
Yeah.
I think you're well dressed for it.
It's
we are in
fitting.
mourning as a fan base, for
It's
sure.
fitting. That's before we're trying to just wrap up the show so we could all hang out. But we want to talk about what does it feel like as a boots on the ground Arizona Cardinals fan entering this season? Like, what are expectations for you? Like, what do you want out of this season?
I think there's a word. It's violence. You know what I mean? Because I don't think we're going to win. I don't think we're not even going to sniff like the playoffs.
Right.
I just want to hurt people. I just want people to feel the way I feel inside on the outside. So
Like injuries or just losing to the Cardinals will
I
make
don't
them
want
feel
any
that
broken bones, but I
Right.
just, every once in a
Emotionally
while I
hurt.
want to see Paris Johnson put somebody into the dirt.
Okay.
All right,
You know
I
what
understand.
mean? That's it.
You're a
Give me
man
some
that's-
violence, and I'm a happy man.
Where are you on the Monty Austinfort vibe?
Probably
There's a plan
just
there, right?
north of the other Monty, who used to be the Phoenix Suns coach. Like I don't know how I feel about either move right now, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, do you want a 2-15 season?
Okay. If we're tanking that bad and they don't let Kyler play, and if that's the move, and if we're going to go and try to replace him, if that's really the move, I think I have to embrace it. But there's a side of me as like an actual fan of the game. I don't want to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like Kyler. I think he's fantastic to watch when he's allowed to be as dynamic as possible, when the line is strong. So do I want to see a power game with him at the helm? Yes, I do. Am I positive that a guy of his stature can be the key figure in a power game? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But you want him back when he's healthy,
I think he deserves a
long-term
shot.
guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to get that, but we'll see.
I don't either.
You've taken the job as the voice of the Around the NFL podcast, and you've run with it. You've helped the show. You've helped our live show.
I've tried to steady it.
You really
because-
carried the live show in a meaningful
Wonderful
way.
work. In Hollywood, yeah.
It is
fun.
great to see you before you leave for the East Coast.
That's good to see you too, man.
Can I ask like
It's
one
an
little
intervention.
I
We're
just
trying
have-
to get him back.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
Already?
stay.
One little favor,
Alright.
like the first time I ever met you was with Dan at the Cozy, and like we were talking to like some side projects that we could do together.
Yeah.
Back debate club days, I believe it was things we could add to the debate club, and you had a little segment that you did called Walking with Giants. Could you just give us Christopher Walken, the Giants fan, huge Eli Manning fan? Like, could you give us just maybe a couple seconds of how that would have gone had we ever aired it?
Chris Walken here. Walken with Giants. Eli Manning, 2023, greatest quarterback in the NFL. More like NFL, he was still playing. I don't know. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah,
You're put on the spot.
I know you're
That
trying
was
to end
good.
it. You're
No,
trying to
that's
end the
good.
show.
Jason
good.
Zumwalt,
All right,
everybody.
All right.
Really.
I knew he would deliver.
Connie!
He always does.
Hey, Connie!
It's going to be harder and harder to get Colleen back into the flow
I want to
here.
get everyone here. Let's
Can't lose her.
just get him in the
But
mix.
if we keep Connie out too much longer, we're going to lose her.
Yeah, no, I sense
I'm
that.
going straight into the ocean.
That's a second straight into the ocean
Wait, what?
moment in
You
the
and
last,
Zumwalt.
3 minutes.
Oh, no.
Why is everyone thinking about that?
Well, because it's right there.
All right, Greg, projected starters.
Wait, so we really are going to do this? I thought it would be fun because we got Claybon. Kimmy Chex has shown up from the
Yeah.
fantasy.
Chex is
so
here.
I was just talking
it's
to
all
Kimmy.
happening.
It's fun. This is a good group. More people keep coming. I'm very distracted.
Why don't we'll just do a little bit here on projected starters, okay? What do we say, 6.5?
I mean, it's like 3.5, 4.5.
All right, 3? Tight 3?
We were gonna do 2. Now we're doing 3. So you are getting the expanded edition,
Greg,
Greg.
who do you sneaky love after doing projected starters?
The Dolphins? I don't know if that's sneaky.
Really?
I feel like they're like a top 5 roster.
You
Top 5
called them-
roster, top 5 coaching
You
staff.
you called them like essentially across the board, ready to essentially morph into a Super Bowl contender without question.
I feel like it. If Tua's healthy, I don't see any reason. The offensive line maybe isn't like amazing, but there's pretty good continuity. But I like backup starters everywhere.
Ooh.
Dolphins. And then the Bengals, which is it's obvious enough, but the Bengals continuity, like yes, we know the offense, but the defense is set up in a way that I really think they kind of remind me of the early aughts Patriots, where they can change what they do on a week-to-week basis because they have so many guys who can do so many different things and have been in the system for so long that they can do so many different things, and then a coaching staff who can actually do that.
Sorry, a bug just flew into my mouth. Everything's
good?
A lot of
fine.
drama.
I feel like I'm
How about the flip side
really
of that? Who do you
high.
sneaky hate?
Yeah, who's a fraud? That's
You
what I want to
sneaky
know.
hate.
Who's like you're just not buying, and everybody is into them.
I feel like the Jaguars are just rolling back the exact same team, which I understand because
They
they
made the divisional playoffs.
like they spent all that money 2 years ago, and you can't spend all the money 2 years in a row. But the defensive roster is like not that good. I don't know. I'm not that in love with the Jaguars maybe doing it all again. That they were kind of a mediocre team that had a couple things go well for them. They're in a bad division, and like they could still be stuck in that mediocrity.
So if you took a couple months off to go actually pursue other activities in your life and you want to plug back into where teams are, I would read this. It's 8 divisions, and it's a bit of a project to read all of them, but it is educational. Well, no, it takes time, but like maybe you do 1-2 every day, but like you will learn a lot. And I came away, Commanders, who we always essentially just rip on left and right, and we know that the ownership has been an apocalyptic mess for ages. But you talked about their roster as being one of the more complete rosters in football. Obviously, the quarterback is the situation, but outside of that, like they look like about as solid as any team around.
They look like a very normal team where there's not like any weaknesses. Like they have decent players at every single position. They make sense to me. I feel like I take less away from like which team looks good, which team looks bad, and more situations. Like your Eagles, a couple situations popped in my mind where I think everyone thinks Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, like those are the guys in fantasy, for instance. And like Kenny Gainwell's been there. He got a ton of carries in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't surprise me if he outtouches both of those guys, and he's been there. They drafted a guy, Sidney Brown, at safety who didn't get a lot of attention. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up playing more than Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, their first-round picks this year because the opportunity's there and they love him. They're kind of talking about him as the next, I don't know, Hufanga type guy.
I noticed that in, your Panthers write-up about the running backs, how you wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders didn't really get a ton of run in the starting spot.
I think he would be the starter, but I wouldn't. They're one of those teams. There's different spots where it's like we're going to add to the mix in August.
That NFC South in general is what is their team. You always seem to kind of ride the Saints and assume the best from them. Are you coming high on the Saints this year?
No, I'm not, and I'm surprised a lot of people are. The Falcons struck me doing this, that like they're really going to roll there with Mac Hollins as their number 2 receiver, and like no one has. They are built like a 1980s team. Mark always wants 1980s football like they are 1980s.
I love you talked about them kind of being shotgunned out of 1985, and I totally agree. I don't think there was a team that, reading through all these, that you seemed higher on. And tell me if I'm wrong. I know there's a lot of trust in the Chiefs, but the Cincinnati Bengals seem to be the team that just stood out to you.
They are. And they lost some players, too. Like Pirine stuck out to me as a guy who might be starting for the Broncos over Javonte Williams and getting all the run. But, yes, I feel like the Bengals are set up. It's not about, like, the window closing because I think they will be around, but they feel a little bit like my Boston Celtics were this year, that, like, everything was set up for them to do it. It doesn't mean that you are going to do it, but this is their year to do it, and maybe the expectations and just running it back over and over that get to them and they choke like my Boston.
I also pointed out, or I took this out of your NFC West column, that you like the Seattle roster better than any team in the NFC North and NFC South.
Right.
Which I know I shouldn't be surprised because Geno, but still, you're pretty high on them.
There's like it sucks when you get stuck in a division. Like any team should want to be in the NFC North or NFC South right now, or AFC South. You'd probably win it. That might be the third best roster in the NFC. Seattle, Philly, Dallas would be my top two, and then maybe Seattle, maybe San Francisco. Like they have stars, but they're pretty short at offensive line and cornerback. I'm feeling too dorky. This is not a beach projected starter thing.
I think it's informative. I think it's a nice little indent on the show.
This was our beach read.
Yeah, it's our beach read.
It's a very weird Ravens team. I'm throwing another one in there.
Okay.
Like they have no pass rush. Like they're not very imposing on the defensive line at all. But they're deep at receiver. It's like the opposite of the Ravens.
See, now you feel better?
Yeah, I do.
You got some beach sound effects.
That threw Colleen and I significantly.
We were not ready.
I'm a beach guy. I mean, you don't look at me and you think beach guy, but pure hours on the beach, I think I'm clocking all you guys, maybe by a good distance, in my Los Angeles area.
Greg and I went to the beach.
I'm a solid once or twice a week.
Actually
I'm a once a week beach guy.
What are you doing on the beach, though? That matters, too.
It's a lot of playing football with Walker. He just wants to, like, kind of run around. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of sitting.
A lot of walking with Walker?
A lot of walking.
Christopher Walker?
A lot of football. A lot of football.
So you never can get too far from ball, though. See that? Even on the beach. You ever go into the sea and float?
Here and there, but it's cold. Pacific's cold, man.
It is.
That's what they don't tell you about moving out here. Atlantic Ocean, kind of warm. I mean, at least warm enough.
The Atlantic is way
Pacific,
better.
cold.
Arrow down on Pacific.
I'm just telling you.
Anything else from the projected starters, Mark, that jumped out to you?
I would say this. It's an overarching sort of bird's eye, but in the run of this show, the AFC North has always featured typically two trash bag operations that are just floundering, and this is the best AFC North we've ever covered by far. Every one of them is a playoff contender, and I just wonder if they'll all eat each other up.
I agree. Something will go wrong for one of them, but I think like they could be 4 of the top 12 teams in the NFL.
I think the East and the North are similar like that, and of course, and then you have in the West the mighty Chiefs are there, and it's going to be very interesting in the AFC. The NFC, it feels like when you're doing this, did it feel like that in general? Everyone is under the impression this is just a wide open conference with not a lot of superpowers. Does that come through again when you do this?
I feel like the Eagles and the Cowboys are pretty awesome. I mean, the Cowboys need their first 2 picks to hit in a way that most teams don't. Mozzie Smith starting probably, Schoonmaker, their tight end they could use to start. But other than that, like the Cowboys are pretty loaded and the Eagles are the most loaded. I mean, the Eagles are still to me
like
the
everyone's
best
going to pick the Eagles for the Super Bowl, and I know that could be an issue, Connie.
I don't like that.
But I feel like that's where this is going to come early September, August when picks are coming in.
Sure.
Because the Niners, people will be scared of the Niners because of the quarterback situation. The Cowboys, people will be scared of the Cowboys because they're the Cowboys, and things never get where they need to be. So it's going to be heavy, heavy Eagles talk going into Week 1. I don't love that if I'm an Eagles fan.
It tells you how top-heavy the NFC is and not very – there's like a couple –
Is there someone laying in the weeds?
I'm going to stick with them. I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year. I think I'm just going to stick with them.
You're rolling with them?
I'm stick with them.
Okay.
I wonder if everyone will not pick the Lions because it's like you are around it so much that people will try to be cool and make the counter pick, but I'm sticking with the Lions. They're kind of Eagles-like, the Lions, with like all their linemen, like 8 linemen you can roll in and out.
That's true.
By the way, I see Andrew Siciliano just coming down the boardwalk right here.
It's all happening. I think
he's rolling right towards us.
Yep. I think we need to get more people involved.
Yeah.
Greg, just relax. For Christ's sake, relax.
1 driver per car.
All right, here he is, the great Andrew Siciliano of NFL Network and beyond. What's up, bud? Welcome
Good to
back.
see you, boys. Welcome to my neighborhood.
This is your hood.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys came down here. Welcome to a cloudy day, June gloom. Don't we pay enough taxes for more sun day on the beach?
I think of you just as a suit and tie man, Andrew. But I like you in this
kind of rude.
Well, thank you.
Beach hoodie.
I think you guys all.
I don't see you as a suit and tie guy. I See
No, I'm
you
just
as a
saying.
man that has-
That's literally how I see him when I see him, right across from us.
Do you think, Greg, it would be a little strange had he showed up here in a suit and tie?
No, I like it. I like it. You live right near here.
I do. I walked here, and this I was walking down here, and I realized, because I grabbed the Aviator Nation sweatshirt on the way out. I don't get it for free. On the way out the door, and I realized this is the most South Bay uniform ever. I have Viore sweatpants on and an Aviator Nation hoodie. It's like I'm a cliche. It's pathetic.
I love it. I love it. I love being a beach guy.
And this is like you do your running around this area. Like this is your world.
So we're on the Strand right here in Hermosa, and there's the Hermosa Pier right there. And Manhattan's about a mile point, 1.3 miles up. And I generally listen to your podcast. As a matter of fact, I did this morning, breaking down DeAndre Hopkins and other things and fly on the wall stuff while running this strip right here at 1.75 speed. So right now,
wow, that's offensive.
Right now, your voice is in my head. I had a lot to do today. I wanted to power through the podcast before I came on. Your voices in my head sound like you are hammered and you are slurring your words.
Yeah, that I could ride with somebody saying they do 1 point.
Actually, you know what? It was 1.5.
1.75 is borderline offensive.
It was 1.5, not 1.7.
I can't imagine how annoying my voice sounds in 1.75. It's tough enough.
How is it,
in reality?
I think you guys sound great. Right.
Are you on board with, speaking of our last episode, are you on board with temporarily the general manager of the Denver Broncos now going by the name Kevin Saunders, just to eliminate any confusion between the head coach and the GM?
I mean, the Peyton, sure. Whatever
you get that going,
them.
maybe on the network, NFL Plus side, is that something we could do?
We are back for mini camp shows next week on the Plus. We're actually doing them. I just found out yesterday. I don't think this is a trade secret from your podcast.
Chris
studio.
Wesseling podcast studio. We
From the
were
Chris
told
Wesseling podcast studio.
we are taping around that and whatnot.
Interesting.
We weren't on those days anyway, so it all worked out perfect.
So, speaking of what we're wearing, I think we might go Plus golf shirts next week.
You can't wear a suit in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio.
I don't know if that's been cleared up the food chain by the time this
is that
airs.
a thing? We don't.
I don't know.
I've never seen the Plus golf shirt. I do have some of those ITC polos.
I'll say this: the Plus hoodie might be the most comfortable swag they've given us in a long time. Did you guys get one in the locker rooms? No?
Well, this is awkward. No, we got nothing at all, Andrew. No, I don't know.
I think I did see that.
Yeah. It's a comfy. Yeah.
Well, you're a man that famously is watching all the action every Sunday, and so you're on top of this. What is the team or division that you're most amped to be checking in for regular updates?
I do think it's the low-hanging fruit here, but the AFC East, obviously, with Rodgers there and the Bills reeking of desperation. And
ooh, I like that. Reeking of desperation.
The Tua injury and fifth-year option conundrum, and what happens if Tua gets hurt? Would Tom Brady sell his shares in the Raiders to go to the Dolphins? I mean, I'm making this up now, but they already gave up the first-round pick. Why don't they just go sign him? They already paid for him, right?
Well,
I'm
yes,
just making
it would be tough to sell. Our Bills fan producer sitting in here, Eric, is shaking his head at you saying they're desperate.
You don't think?
Well, they didn't act like a desperate team. They didn't do that much this offseason, relatively. I actually like certain things about their team. I like their backfield a lot, the way it all mixes together. 4 guys who are all pretty good, but they didn't do that much.
Here's the thing, and let me ask you this, Andrew. There's a difference between urgency and desperation. You think they've crossed the Rubicon in entering 2023?
It's a fair point, and I am prone to hyperbole. But look at it this way. If they don't make it there this year, I mean, they bowed out in pretty awful fashion. Yeah. They were emotionally exhausted. I understand how and why they lost to the Bengals, but it leaves a bitter taste. Sean McDermott takes over the defense, so there's now even more on his shoulders. You guys know this. There is nothing worse than the sports radio cliche, who has the most pressure? God, there's no worse topic bar on television than who has more pressure. Just shut up. Everyone has pressure.
Do it.
Anybody can get fired at any moment when you lose, right? That's how this business works. But if the Bills don't make it to the promised land yet again this year, another year older for Josh Allen, another year closer to retirement, and it's hard to come back from an injury at that age for Von Miller. Do we face another offseason of vague Stephon Diggs discontent on Twitter. Something has to change there. So, yeah, I do think there is a sense of desperation in Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Vaughn. You might not be back to like week 5 or 6, by the way. He threw that out there.
Diggs is a mercurial guy, and they've been knocking on the door for so many years now. You do get the feeling that Orchard Park could go up in flames if this is a disappointment.
I got to ask you, because we just talked about the AFC North, too, where like it suddenly feels like you've got, for the first time in a long time, not one or two of those teams that are not viable, but 4 potential playoff teams. And you're a Browns fan. We've always connected on that. I see Andrew in the office
He's
past
public
season.
with that. Are Browns fans now like coming out of hiding after the misery?
Greg can jump in with a question.
I don't
That's
think
fine.
there were that many that actually went away.
Okay.
I know some did,
Well,
and I respect them. That's fine.
I think they put the fans in a tough spot.
They did. I totally agree with you. Are you ever going to come back?
I know I get a lot of tweets saying that because I'm kind of coaxed into, well, you're a fan again. It's like I really haven't changed my stance. I'm interested in the team in general just because I think at this point, and I would ask you this, I think a lot of people are sleeping on them because of what's happened to them. And it's tougher to discuss them. You're not wanting to project them the same way you fascinate over other squads necessarily. But the Browns seem pretty complete all over the board. Do you think that they are a legitimate division-winning candidate?
I do, but it's also an amazingly tough division. And I do think the Steelers will be better. I think the offensive line will be better. And I think Pickett remains to be seen how much better he will be in year 2. But, I assume he will be better. I think with the Browns, there's going to be a Jim Schwartz honeymoon in which the defense plays with its hair on fire and it creates more sacks, more turnovers, and plays better. I still think they are in need of help on the defensive lines. Darius Smith helps a lot if he stays healthy. He's going to be hungry and contract motivated. I still think there's an issue even with Dalvin Tomlinson, a defensive tackle, particularly with depth. So the front 7, even with Myles Garrett, it's amazing to say, I think it's a bit of an issue. Linebacker, guys, everyone's coming off of injury. Everybody coming off of injury at
I
linebacker.
thought Owusu-Koramoah was going to be a superstar, and he kind of was
another guy coming off of injury.
Everyone was last year.
I think
might be helped by Schwartz, though, I think.
Yeah.
I think he played amazingly well his first year. He couldn't stay healthy last year. Then Anthony Walker got hurt. Then Taki got hurt. When playing out of position, he was really playing well the second half of the year. I do think they are legit. But the question is Deshaun going to play well? I mean, to me, there's no bigger question mark in the NFL this year. And again, hyperbole.
I agree.
If Deshaun Watson can return to 80% of his form pre-suspension, fake suspension, like sat him down for the year in 2020, then they are, yes, a legitimate AFC contender, I think.
I would like a little Schwartz comeback season. Jim Schwartz really hasn't been in the mix lately. Let's get some Schwartz bombs.
I like Schwartz. Yeah, Schwartz is good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he mixes it up. He mixes it up with the media. There's
a rabble-rouser.
There's, like, he'll annoy his players.
This
he'll
isn't a
annoy the
Spaceballs
media.
reference
He'll
here?
do what?
No.
No,
Schwartz is good.
Schwartz is good.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Greg Williams, but just not, a knucklehead.
Villainous.
Yeah, but he's a little villainous.
He's like,
he's got some villain in him.
He's
Yeah,
like,
but it's just a tangible villainy to Greg
right.
Williams.
He's like Greg Williams, except he always had a cover blurb on Football Prospectus every year, Football Outsiders. So he's like a little bit of a nerd.
But he was one of those
It's like
guys.
the book I read while I'm making game plans. Jim Schwartz, 2007.
But I remember I can't remember which job. He might have been interviewing for the Bears job in the 90s. I was in Chicago, and I remember somebody in that building told me at the time that when he interviewed, they were blown away by his, whether you want to call it an analytics-like presentation, but in the late 90s, his presentation, I'm a little bit smarter than you, I'm ahead of the game presentation. So he's been that guy.
Well, he was one of
for a while.
Belichick's little nerds back in the Cleveland Browns regime days.
And finally, Andrew, before we let you go, and we're going to wrap the show up soon, too, because we just want to hang out with everybody, but dating in the South Bay, take us through it. What are some tips?
It's a
people
little bit
shaking their heads. It
it's
seems
a
difficult.
Little bit of an older crowd, which I'm okay with. It's not the younger Santa Monica, Venice, West Hollywood crowd that I was used to. I'm also not younger anymore.
Right. I didn't want to get rude, but that seems to fit.
Yeah, I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40. So let's cut the crap there.
Pesci's mom, played by Marty Scorsese's real-life mother. They're sitting, they're eating some pasta. There's a dying guy in the trunk, but she's like, why don't you meet a nice girl. You settle down, have a nice girl. Let's do it. Let's settle down. Let's find a nice woman.
Okay,
Bring her on the show. We'll give her the seal of approval.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I mean, that's obviously the first step. Forget my parents. It would be you guys.
Sure.
I'm down to do that. The South Bay's different. I mean, you got a lot of guys hanging out of the 900 Club that, probably sold their company at 32, and now they're single still at 58.
The 900 Club.
They have the
What's that about?
The Peter Pan label. There's a lot of quote-unquote Peter Pans down here that can't grow up.
Right, but they don't have that advice and that plan of action that Dan Hanzus just gave you that's going to lead you.
That's true.
They've probably done it 6 or 7 times, and they're rebooting yet again. It's a different world down here. I kind of miss the West Side, but look, we're sitting on the beach.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you
how
luck.
would
That
we
sounds
complain?
challenging, Andrew, but I think you're going to navigate it.
It's a first world problem.
I picture a scenario about 6 months from now. I get a text out of the blue. Andrew, I found the one. That's going to be real nice.
Then systematically she comes on our show before he
And then we clear it,
shares
and then
that
you go
with
to your
anyone
parents,
else.
and then away we go.
Yeah.
Would they have to come in and do this in your podcast studio, or would you guys go
Naturally.
on location again? Would you come to us?
Okay, yeah, maybe we'll do another Vista show.
We can be flexible. We'll get the Vista sunshine out, and we'll have a whole sit down.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Can I ask you one
Yes.
last thing?
Sure.
Okay. It's a 2-part question. What do you think of the new I'm throwing myself out there again, Aaron Rodgers? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, do you read into back-to-back nights at the Taylor Swift show?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, when you say I'm putting myself out there, Aaron, do you mean just his involvement with the team, with activities, and
Involvement
things
with
of that
the team,
Yeah.
being Mr. Social,
My take on
Everything.
that whole thing is, if he's around for multiple years, year 1, good soldier. Next year, all bets are off. It'll be the same way it was with Green Bay. He will not be in Florham Park in May next year, no matter what happens this
The
year.
old Brandon Marshall plan.
Yes, exactly.
Have you ever said, well, man, of course you've got to FaceTime me. I have no service.
Yeah, I got to say, like, another article popped up again where
Matt Schneidman yesterday.
Yeah,
in The
Matt
Athletic,
Schneidman with The Athletic. It's like, Aaron, you got to move on, bro. Like, and I understand, like, Matt Schneidman and Packers fans are interested in it, but you just can't talk about it anymore. You got to move forward. So, yes, there are elements of the Rodgers personality that will continue to irritate, but if you could play quarterback, specifically for my team, I will let a lot slide. But I think we're going to get him on very good behavior this year.
Absolutely.
And then
I'm
next
excited.
year, we'll see what happens in so many ways with that organization. And as far as the Taylor Swift thing, back-to-back nights is a lot. That seems like a lot. If you're saying how to read into that, I guess he's just a huge fan of Taylor Swift.
There's
I don't
nothing
know.
wrong with that. I might go multiple nights at SoFi. I'll tell you right.
I mean, I think he
right
was
now.
also, unless it was the same thing, I think he was at the Phoebe Bridgers Boy Genius show too. She's taken it.
Guy just
as
loves
well.
music.
Just
I mean,
loves.
because Taylor
loves
is
those
new
chanteuse.
to the free agency right now.
Oh, okay. Ooh, wait a second.
I see where you're going.
See
with
where I'm
this.
going?
And I've seen others go
That'd be a
down
lot.
this
That'd be a
path.
lot.
You know what
too.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It
do.
seems kind of almost it has to happen at this point. It seems like she's got to lose this guy from the 1979, and then it will be Aaron Rodgers, and it will be the biggest story in the country. I don't need it. We need to focus on getting dubs in the swamp, all right? We need to focus where it should be. Andrew Siciliano, you've said it all. Thank you, my man. I will meet you up for a drink about 8 feet away in a few minutes.
Guys, I was flattered to be back on the show for the first time in 4 years. It made my off season. It made my off season.
Again, we'll get you
Thank
on
you,
much
Andrew.
sooner next time. We
Thanks,
love Andrew.
Andrew.
All right. How's everything going? You having a good time? The sun's not out yet. Should we call
I don't-
Colleen back just to get on her
I think
nerves?
let's,
Want to get Patrick over
let's
here?
get Patrick over
Yeah,
here.
we
Yeah,
asked him to
Claybon-
come down here.
maybe
Claybon
for some
wanna
maybe
be
a little
on?
Kimmy checks for some fantasy, and then we'll say back. I just feel like we
Here
got
we
all
go.
this talent.
Another. Yes, we got a deep bench today. Now coming on, the legend himself, Patrick Claybon.
Absolutely
up?
no one. What's up, guys? How are you?
Patrick, how
You just
are ya?
belong by the sea.
Yeah, you dressed most appropriately.
Well, thank you, guys. I figured we should celebrate the month, celebrate the event, and no, I just this was clean. this is what happened.
We've been kind of, carrying the load here, talking a lot. We heard that you
Greg,
have
sorry, one note. I see a man going by on a bike wearing the exact same sweatshirt that Andrew Siciliano just appeared on with. So it's, I get what's going on down here.
And you missed it, Mark, because when you said that, he turned around and gave this look as if to say,
"Hey,
I heard you say that."
Yeah, no one's supposed to talk about that.
Well, I don't know. I am hot on men's fashion.
I didn't know it was the South Bay uniform. I was like, oh, I should get one of those.
Wait, now he's coming back, and he has anger in his eyes, and he's walking right toward Mark.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to snuff this dude out, Mark.
I was going to say, Patrick told me privately here that he had a 5-minute monologue, though, on like one of the hottest topics in the NFL right now. So the floor is yours,
What?
Patrick.
Greg is making stuff up again. Occasionally, Gregg Rosenthal does this. He will just fabricate some reality that doesn't exist.
I thought that was my Sessler Zumwalt moment.
Do you want a little fun fact for today's episode? 2 different people sitting in your chair have referenced directly walking into the ocean and ending it all.
It's a little dark. It's a little dark right now, but we can be the light. I love it. I love the dolphin. We can be the light to keep people out of the ocean.
All right. I like that. We need that.
And now I'm experiencing regret because I feel like I should have picked up the torch that Greg tried to hand.
No, that would 5 minutes would have been.
I took the easy way out. No, no.
Do you have any trenchant takes that you've been sitting on a little bit in terms of the NFL? Because this would be the time to share it.
Dan, if I had a take I was sitting on, then it would be an impossible take to share publicly with you guys that the listeners could hear. Because if I have a take, it's coming out, man. It's coming out in some capacity.
I mean, you're on television a lot, especially if you go into a tavern or a restaurant. And NFL Network, I feel, gets like 85% of their share from just silent tavern restaurant fare. But like, are you recognized on the street? Do you walk up and down the street? Does anyone ever say, "Hey, that's Patrick Claybon from NFL Network"?
I have 3 people. I have dudes at Costco. There's 3 dudes at Costco. Yeah, 3 particular – this is not like a thing that happens a lot, but there's 3 dudes at the Costco that I go to that have spoken to me about
same dudes every
football.
time?
It's the same dudes every time. Otherwise, it's like, whatever, just a dude. Just a dude at the bar trying to get a drink.
But who's a guy at the bar getting a drink?
That's it.
So you're saying they know you from fantasy, not from your Around the NFL podcast work?
No, I'm – all the ATN people communicate with me through other means. We're a family, of course. But as far as random people,
largely letters.
I wouldn't consider an ATN listener to be a random person. They're a part of.
You've always been a risk taker on Twitter. Have you received any feedback from the hires up lately with some of the Twitter takes?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
Thankfully, no.
But isn't that almost like an indicator that maybe it's time to ramp up the heat? So you like walking up to that line, and that's what makes Claybon a great follow on the Twitter.
I probably should. We do have, we've talked about the belligerent capitalist that's operating the institution that we all know and love as Twitter.com.
Probably going to own this company in about 6 months.
Yeah, it's been a hindrance to my participation, but I'm always going to be on the site. I'm always going to be in some capacity, but it's it's the off season, and
Sure. How's the OnlyFans page going?
It's good. We're building, Mark. We are building. We're trying to get up to something that can be marketable, that can be distributed. We want to open the kimono.
It takes time.
Literally.
And it's all about vertical and horizontal integration regarding the OnlyFans page, and we're looking forward to it.
That was a great yes and right there.
That was very nice. And now here's your last opportunity to share a trenchant take.
A trenchant take.
Yeah.
Okay. Why not? Because we got the NBA.
I know there's something in the chamber.
Yeah, we've got the NBA Finals coming up.
There we go.
And only one team gets to be remembered. Only one team gets to go around and go to banquets and have horrible chicken and talk about their experience for the remainder of their lives. And it is a travesty. I know championships are important, but only one team every single season gets to be remembered, gets to be celebrated. And I think it's a problem. I saw people tweeting, especially Celtics fans, that were like, oh, I would have rather been swept. Like, you didn't enjoy the tip-in? You didn't enjoy the climb back from down 3-0?
I'm with you.
What are we saying? Like, why don't you enjoy the sports? Because if you don't enjoy the sports, why are you watching? That's it. That's my trench.
That's pretty good.
Football is completely different than
the
basketball.
counter there was that if once you have that tip-in, who's the gentleman who had the tip-in?
Derek White.
Derek White. To not win the Game 7, it's all the more painful because it feels like that went from iconic moment in team history to total afterthought. And it's like to almost waste that. And you'd almost rather it didn't happen.
It was brutal, but we got those 2 days of excitement, looking forward to the Game 7. I got the series, and the Celtics are a good example of this team that keeps getting close. But I do try to keep in mind they've given me a lot of enjoyment being so good. And yes, they haven't gotten over the hump. Hopefully they get there someday. But like if the Heat lose the series, which I think they will, and maybe they'll prove me wrong and everyone wrong like they have, like they should be remembered for making 2 finals runs in this ridiculous era. Like it should be remembered. They should have banquets with chicken.
And it's okay to have things hurt. Like people are leaving relationships all the time, and it's like, oh, I wasted time. Did you? Or did you enjoy yourself
at the time?
And you're upset that it's over, and it's fine to be upset when you have something good and it ends, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
By the way,
have
see,
celebrated
I knew he had a trenchant take buried in the chamber. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I said 27 years from now, Patrick, I'd happily attend that Miami Heat banquet with you. I don't know who else will be there.
Let's go.
But yeah.
Why not? Kyle Lowry and some good chicken. Why don't we make the chicken better?
Before we say goodbye, I can't really look at you, Patrick, so I have to talk in this direction.
What's that?
Before we say goodbye, on the subject of the NBA playoffs, the Miami Heat drop Game 1 of the play-in. They're down in the elimination play-in game. Win that game.
Like 5 minutes to go.
And then what happens? They knock off a supposed juggernaut number 1 seed. Then a very tough New York Knicks team. Then a 58-win Celtics squad. How about that momentum, Claybon? How about it, baby?
Did you know that's where he was going with this?
I did. And the obvious question is, Dan, why didn't they lose to the Bulls if that was the case?
Because they didn't have their momentum yet. It's a thing.
Okay.
Come on. If the Miami Heat exists to convince Patrick Claybon that momentum is a thing in sports.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see if they pull it off. If they
what about the momentum after they blew out the Celtics in Game 3?
Well, it ebbs and flows.
Don't be a sycophant to Claybon, Greg.
I
believe in momentum.
I've never been a momentum guy.
Some people
28-3. Did you sense any momentum that Sunday night in Houston?
I mean, I saw a lot of scores in a row.
Talk in circles on this.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick. Let's have a drink in 7 minutes.
We're drinking in 7.
All right. In fact, let's wrap it up. We're having some issues. So, thank you to everybody for listening here. Thank you again to Vista and Brady running this operation in Hermosa and all the crew with NFL that did an amazing job setting us up and getting this done, and all the guests that have come on. And now we're going to hang out as a group because this is the time of year to do such a thing, boys.
Absolutely. Let's waste no more time in doing that.
All right. Until next week, Dan Hanzus signing off for Quiet Storm, the old boss, Patrick Claybon, Andrew Siciliano, Jason Zumwalt, Colleen Wolfe, Erica Tamposi. Cynthia just rolled in. We're going to talk to her. Kevin Dangerhand, my brother, maybe the lighthouse they call him, Eric behind the glass. He the call.